Hey, Virgo, I hope you guys are doing great. Let's talk about March and let's get right into talking about how we're going to be starting the new astrological new year. The sun is still very focused in that seventh house of partnerships. A lot of you probably craving the energy for feeling more connected to your significant other. If you do have a significant other, if you're single, this could be craving a new job, right? Because that seventh house is also contracts. It's connected to boss or bosses. Some of you may be thinking about trying to come up with a new way of servicing your industry, servicing your business, servicing your clients, your customers, your patients, whoever it is that you service in your industry. But relationships are going to be the main theme for you for the month of March, Virgo. They kind of are every year. And that, of course, is because of that Pisces, Aries energy. It's in that seventh, eighth house. It's very heavily connected to partnerships and partnership agreements, anything that we're very committed to there. So until March 19th, that Sun in Pisces in your seventh house of contracts and harmony is really going to be about bringing back harmony to that part of your life. And you actually are very nicely situated at this point. Your attention is already set in the right place as far as what's necessary to balance out some sort of situation in that seventh house energy. So you sort of, in true Virgo fashion, because what do I always say about Virgos are the problem solvers of the zodiac? You know what's necessary to address that situation within your marriage. You know what's necessary to address that situation having to do with a career, a boss, bosses, and or a contract. You understand that. And you're all about being fair and equal this month, right? You guys can tend on the side of being very critical, but there's a lightening up or a pulling back of that energy where you're critical, but in the most positive way, right? And not in a way that maybe could be perceived as being a challenge or a threat. As sometimes you probably hear that. It's like, oh, why are you're so critical all the time? You're so negative. You so it's like, yeah, okay, because I see stuff that you don't see, right? You're probably thinking to yourself anyway. So getting an early start on this idea of the spring and what this means to you and cleaning out areas in your life that need the cobweb shaken off and really proactively working towards attaining the balance in the parts of your life that need balancing. And look, having that energy in the seventh house is it's houses 1, 4, 7, and 10 are all about action. So that seventh house energy, it's like, okay, I really need to balance this energy out with this other person or this energy. So, really any sort of intimate ties, any issues surrounding money, anything like that. Now, your ruling planet Mercury is going to begin a 3-week retrograde on April 1st, which means that from around March 15th, he's going to be in pre-shadow. It's always for about 2 weeks before. We can't worry about Mercury retrograde too much. It's not a terribly long one either, but we do have to keep in mind where he's going to be at. He's going to be right in that same sector of your chart. So you want to be careful when you're communicating with that boss, when you're communicating with your significant other, especially if you're negotiating any sort of contract or you're entrenched in any sort of legal negotiation, anything like that. You want to make sure that you dot your I's, you cross your T's, you read everything 3 times. That's it. We can't not live. But Mercury retrograde is generally not the best time to meet something new and get completely committed to it in the realm of a relationship and or a contract straight out of the gate, right? Within that like 4 to 6 week period. Doesn't mean we don't engage. It just means we engage carefully and we understand that things may not things may look a little differently once Mercury goes direct at the end of April into the beginning of May. So just understand that. Um, and you're already going to be feeling this kind of like rogue energy as March closes, particularly if you're dealing with any sort of energy that's like not on the same page as you. Because that's going to be where the frustration lies. It's not that you're not going to be in a fair space. It's you will likely be feeling like other people are not being fair with you and they're being contrary. So any energy that's like contrary to you is going to make you want to go rogue against that kind of energy. So a little bit of like cosmic shakeup there. But just understanding that that's what's going to be coming down the pike. What do I always say, guys? To be forewarned is to be forearmed, right? Just so that we know and we don't go down that rabbit hole and we don't feed into any sort of that negative energy. Now, Mars and Uranus are going to be squaring, and then we also have the Pisces new moon. So we have a lot of very emotional energy going on here. So on March 10th, the annual Pisces new moon, this is a super potent super moon, very much about spotlighting within your energy the idea of reciprocity. You know, who could you take your ideas to level up, Virgo? When it comes to being more gainfully employed, when it comes to fixing that relationship situation and whatever it is, right? Where could you be the answer for someone else as well? Where could you be helpful to other people? And this moon energy is really going to be exploring these ideas, okay? This is the start of it's a 6-month time period, a 6-month window where you can move a dating situation into a much more serious relationship. You can move a part-time work position into a full-time work position. You could something that's like not quite there, that's in the realm of contract, leveling it up and whatever that might mean for you. Um, Especially if it's like a low risk, let's wait and see, let's take it slow, but let's move forward with positive intention. Um, this is a very good energy. Now, the Pisces new moon is still a really good time to check in and sort of align with your energies, especially because Pisces is that old water energy. It's very hard for us to feel especially grounded wherever Pisces is, even though it's a little easier now because we do have that Saturn energy in there. He does help. um, he's in there with Neptune, which is those energies are just very funny to me together because I always think of Saturn is like the cranky old grandfather who's just like, this is the way you do it. Take your time, sit down, be slow, be responsible, do it that way. And like Neptune just wants to grab a cocktail and have a good time. So Neptune rules your seventh house. So it's like, oh, do I have to look at things in a more solid and responsible way when it comes to my marriage, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to my employment situation? And it's not that you're not responsible, but you may be being pushed to look at things a little bit differently. Um, and it's very easy to, once those energies come up, this in this mid-month part, in this mid-month section, grievances can come up to the top, bitterness can rise to the top. And you know, especially, look, I mean, I always say part of the human condition is comfort, right? Comfort and safety. So when we're dealing with things that are uncomfortable, it's not uncommon to push it to the side, to say, I'm going to deal with it later. But then, of course, it becomes necrotic, it grows, and it becomes disgusting and ugly and bah, right? And in this energy, that's being revealed. So if there's anything that's been pushed to the side or any sort of brewing resentments or bitterness, can certainly rise to the top, all of these grievances. Um, that of course can become bigger over time. So when they rise to the top, call it out, use the new moon energy to clear the air, especially before Mercury goes retrograde, and just start something fresh. This is a good energy to have grown-up conversations. That day prior to that energy, um, to that Pisces new moon energy is a little bit tricky because here you have to really be in touch with yourself, Virgo, because there can be a little bit of an overly critical eye that gets activated within you, can become quite critical. And you could come out full force on March 9th, especially with that very tense 90-degree square between Mars and Uranus, between your sixth house and your ninth house when it comes to like I'm going to tell you how this could manifest. It's like an overflow of like, do you understand how much I do within my day? How I'm holding everything together? And what do you do? It's that kind of energy. Now that could be between you and a significant other, you and a workmate, right? Because it's between houses 6 and 9. So it could be colleague, somebody who works for you. It could be anyone in your life. It could be that kind of energy. There could also be a subtext of some sort of little little how do I want to say it? Like a health thing, because you're not feeling your best self this month. So it could be something gnawing at you. Maybe it's a little anxiety, maybe it's a little depression, maybe it's you questioning if you're kind of sinking into an addiction, right? Oh my, I started out having one drink a night, now I'm having three or four, and I kind of need it, that kind of thing. Maybe I'm not eating such good food. And even like that's very personal, but then you're dealing with people out here. So this kind of energy can kind of bring that tension to a little bit of a head. Okay. Um, I just want to kind of, just I want you to just be mindful of that, especially in that March 9th energy. Be super careful of that energy. Um, yeah, you don't want to do anything irrational because it's that kind of outburst, right? Where you could say something that's bridge burning that you can't really take back, or even if somebody forgives you, they can't really forget it. So you want to be a little careful there. Um, you might be experiencing, just a shorter temper. People might be suddenly changing plans on you. You could get caught up in overthinking, and miss an opportunity because you're so caught in your thoughts and overthinking and ruminating about something in the way that it's supposed to be or should be, that you end up missing out on an opportunity. So just be very mindful and be very open during that mid-month energy. You know, taking any sort of like overconfident steps right now is not a good idea. It's just not. But neither is pulling everything down to its microscopic level and being overly critical. So there's got to be a balancing out, in this area. You know, and a good piece of advice for the energy that you're going to be feeling here is create a game plan for yourself. Figure out where it is that you would like to end up this time next year, and then work recursively backwards. Create some sort of a list. Understand that the list cannot look like what you've been doing. It's got to be some sort of proactive attempt at stepping out of your wheelhouse, out of your comfort zone, and then sort of, working off that list and being rather organized. You guys are very good with the organization, being rather organized about it and taking things one step at a time. But you want to be careful of any sort of foolish, overzealous, overconfident steps in any one way at this time, right? Because that energy could certainly rise up mid-March, okay? Now we have the sun going into Aries in the 8th house on March 19th. So happy astrological new year. The focus is going to be 8th house energy, which is other people's money, debt, taxes, transformation and change. It's the house of divorce. It's the house of um, inheritance, insurance payouts. It's a money house, but it's also a relationship house because it's also very connected to the idea of sex, things that are hidden, things that have been bothering us from the past. And listen, when the sun goes into Aries, it's a great time to do an energetic cleansing. So good. Going into meditation, doing any sort of past life regression. Such a good month to do it. Man, oh man. Honestly, not only this month, not only Aries season, I actually like this all the way through Gemini season for you guys. That 8th, ninth, 10th house getting lit up, I really like it as far as like letting go of the past so that you can move yourself forward. Very nice energy there. Um, but this area of intimacy, joint ventures, and investments definitely going to be getting very lit up. So, you know, some of you could be very connected um, your intimacy drive, that very strong desire for connection, the act of intimacy, the feeling connected, feeling all of that very deep at this time. Um, yeah, I like this energy for you. Anything else that I wanted to say? It is like a little bit of that personal spring awakening here is going to be starting in about a month for you when the sun moves into that Taurus energy in your very expansive ninth house. So right now, try not to be too scattered. So a lot of you might be moving, in a few weeks into April, changing jobs, going back to school, something like that, something to expand you a lot more. So for now, try to get your rest. Um, You're probably feeling stretched thin, very energetically sensitive. Everybody's feeling kind of raw right now. So don't go out if you don't have to. Stay close to home, snuggle, do whatever you have to do just to kind of get your bearings because you are situated to have a lot of change coming up, believe me. And we have the eclipse to talk about. So that eclipse season starts on March 25th. This is starting the eclipse corridor, which is going to be going into April, which is going to be changing the trajectory for the next year. So this is really going to be lighting up for you guys this very strong desire for greater stability, in your life. The March 25th Libra full moon is obviously to lunar eclipse that we're talking about. It's in that second house. So a lot of you really looking at your finances and figuring out, what could you do to become more gainfully employed? If finances aren't an issue, you're really looking at how you feel about yourself in your life right now. But it's a very transformational 2 week corridor that we call it. Um, that's really rippling across that financial and that personal sense of self-access. So there could be a lot of surprises that could help you be more decisive now, and one specifically that's going to create a lot more security and certainty in your life. So this is a very blessed thing for you guys. I like it. It's keep in mind, guys, it's also working with the South Node in Libra. So eclipses, something's got to end so that something new could come in. And the South Node is about excretion and releasing something that's toxic that's not serving you. So a lot of you are going to be letting go of a job that you've been doing, seriously thinking about changing jobs, re-strategizing your whole financial sector, looking at how it is that you take care of your body maintenance, the food that you put in your mouth, how you take care of your mental health, how connected you feel to yourself in a way where really looking at, do I feel like a really good, healthy version of myself to move forward into this next part of my life? And then kind of trying to get in front of that. Now, eclipses do often bring major money news, so you might receive a surprise job offer. You could get a raise, a promotion, shifting to another department, which ends up elevating you, anything like that. Um, if you really like where you are, when you're not even looking to move or to do anything like that, great time to get straight away with your money, squared away with your money, I guess we should say. Get on some sort of budget, really looking at what's going in, what's coming out, not in a totally stressful way, but in a way to just be a lot more organized. And you're going to ask, like, is it time to curb your spending habits? Really looking at how can you make changes now in a way that's going to end up putting you in a better, more favorable position moving forward when it comes to your ability to feel secure going into your future. So really looking at those spending habits, looking at what do you waste your money on? Going through apps that you don't even realize you're being charged for, right? Going through your phone, canceling those apps that you don't really need, maybe making lunch, at home, having your coffee at home. Little things like that can go a long way. It might even be time to pick up a new client. It might be this is a really good time if you have a business to increase your rates and it not be scoffed at. Good energy there. The Libra full moon can also give you a lot of confidence um, when it comes to approaching your health, just period across the board, right? I like this energy for you when it comes to wellness. Um, I also feel like this is really nice energy to um, get rid of anyone or any situation in your life that's not supporting you. So it's very easy for us to connect that to like food or drink, right? Drinking a glass of wine or two is not a problem. Drinking 3 or 4 glasses and it may be a problem, right? And so that's something that's not supporting you. So you look at that, right? Look to let go of that. Make an adjustment there. Obviously, your food habits, but also people. People who are in your life every day, people who are really not serving you. Now, this is also just speaking to the basic example that I just gave, having to do with like canceling apps that you're paying for that you really don't need. They're not really supporting you, right? That's something else that you could sit down and let go of. Anything that that you're engaging with that's not ultimately supportive of you, you don't need to deal with. If you can cut it loose during the eclipse season, because you're going to have more energetic space for you to manifest what it is that you want. So I really like that for you, especially because of this trine to Pluto in Aquarius in your sixth house. So there's a lot of very supportive energy there. We like it there. Now, this eclipse could also be lighting up where you've been feeling maybe a little self-conscious, not feeling very good about yourself. Your confidence has not been the best, and you may need some emotional reinforcement. So remember, guys, self-love, it's an inside job. You cannot learn how to love yourself by living out here, right? Whether it's social media, whether it's engaging with other people, whether it's, reading a book is great, but not if you're not processing it internally. Particularly, I'm talking about like doing any sort of self help, any sort of shadow work, anything like that. Everything's got to be processed on the internal here. And this is a very good energy for you to be doing it. So really start treating your body and your soul with the love and the respect and the care that you deserve, and make time for that and make yourself a priority, because it's very easy for you guys to not make yourself a priority. I mean, you may at a certain point, but it's only after you've killed yourself serving everyone else, and you end up pushing your needs and what matters to you to the side, and that's just not gonna work for you right now. So this eclipse is also gonna be putting a very profound spotlight on any sort of limiting self-talk. Any area of your life where you're super critical, where you feel like you're holding back, where you feel like I can't do that. It's not possible for me to get in good shape, lose that weight, get that job, have that life, whatever it is. Any space where that negative self-talk is, this eclipse is really going to want to be pushing that out. So stay very open to those energies, and practice, routines that are positive, rituals that are positive, mindsets that are positive. There's a lot of power in that right now. Again, because, and I've been talking about this in the past couple of videos, what we roll out now over the next 3 months is really going to color the next about 12 years of our life. Okay. So we want to make sure that we're clean, that we feel, our cupboards are cleaned out from any nonsense that doesn't belong there, that's not serving us. Okay. Let's talk about love for our Virgo friends. So this is really about, I mean, look, just in love, look what you have in the seventh house. You have all of this energy in there. So the stars are really like lining up, especially the first half of the month, is that Venus and Mars are kind of still hanging out in Aquarius, and that they're hanging out in the sixth house of service, but you have all of that all of that beautiful energy in the seventh house. So being of service for a partner the first half of the month, okay. Conceding to things for the sake of your partner, okay. Doing things for your partner, okay. All of that's great. It's been since around like the middle of February where the Venus and Mars has been in that space in Aquarius, in that analytical sixth house. You've been on a little bit of a mission to actually improve your relationship, be open to what you need to do to make the relationship really solid. Of course, that sixth house energy where that Venus and Mars have been, because it's ruled by you. It's Virgo. It's where you live. Being very critical of what your partner may need to equally do. But there's this understanding that it's a two-way street. you know so I'm going to do this, but do you see what you do in this realm? And chances are, leading up to this energy, right, like as we kind of got towards the end of February, dealing with any sort of energies in a relationship where you're showing up but they're not, that I'm sure did not rub you the right way. So there could have been a lot of volatile energies as we closed in on the month of February, because it's this idea of I'm showing up, are you? I want to work on this, to you. And it's that kind of thing. And it's not you're showing up so that they could show up. It's you're showing up because you want the relationship to work, right? Um, so what I like about this energy is this is a very good time for you guys to do something bonding, especially coming off of what might have been kind of tense energies, right? In that towards the end of February. Um, and you may feel like you're giving more than you're receiving right now. That may or may not be true. Okay. If you're feeling like that, it's not going to last, especially as the month rolls out, because that Venus and Mars are going to shift into that seventh house of committed partnerships from that sixth house. Um, so I'm not really worried about that, but you may just feel like that for the first 2 weeks. Talking about these things, talking about commitments, talking about boundaries, talking about expectations, having mature conversation while Venus is in Pisces is a good thing to do, even though Mercury's going retrograde, going into pre-shadow on the 15th, and it is your ruler. Um, Again, having the conversations about things that have been going on leading up to this time period can absolutely be pretty powerful, actually. Very good idea to discuss the more serious things, that need addressing, especially with that Saturn in the seventh house. It's like getting real. It's like, seriously, what are we doing here? Especially if you've been finding that you've been bickering a lot about a lot of things, sitting down and having a very pointed conversation where it's like, how are we going to handle this differently? Because, what's been going on is not good for either of us. And we need to figure out strategy that's going to work for us, whether it's counseling, whether it's doing some sort of, relationship activity, via, a webinar, some sort of, self-driven book, whatever it is, but figuring out what needs to go on. There does need to be a serious discussion in that realm for those of you who are coupled. Some of you may be finding that you're having that serious conversation with your boss or your bosses, where it's like, look, I really want to be here. I like being here, but things need to be a little different, and having that conversation. While others of you, if you're not gainfully employed, sitting down with yourself and getting very honest about the fact that you may need to do something else for work outside of what it is that you've been looking to get into, you know? And this could certainly be something that is connected to your past, something that you used to do that maybe you are a little hesitant to get back into, but that may be the very thing that you need to explore. But talking about commitments gets a hell of a lot easier when Venus goes into Pisces. Having these conversations, even with yourself, it's just it is a lot easier, especially when Venus connects with Saturn on March 21st, right? As that month progresses out. So, with Venus in this, give and take realm of your chart, make sure that you're talking and listening, in equal measure, that you are being heard, um, that you're being clear in what it is that you're saying. So I always recommend this idea of mirroring, the mirroring technique. A lot of you know about it, where it's just basically saying, if a partner says something to you, rather than being reactive initially, even if it's something that maybe triggers you a bit, say, I just want to make sure I'm understanding you right. So what I'm hearing you say is, and this way, and because sometimes when we do that and the person hears back what they communicated, they have the opportunity to adjust. That maybe they were being a little reactive instead of responsive in the moment. Do you know what I mean? So there's an opportunity to self-adjust. Um, you know, it's and there's, as a result of these conversations, there's going to be this realization where, okay, I can't really, it's kind of like the Five of Swords energy, right? Where it's like, all right, I can't fix this part. Like, I can't fix it. This is this person. This is the situation. So I have a choice. I could bow out with grace and dignity and say, I'm sorry, I don't want to deal with this. Or you can adjust what it is that you're looking at, and here, hopefully, um, looking at this idea of where do you try to fix another person? Where are they trying to fix you? This is something that's really going to be a point of consideration that you need to consider here. And this is between you and either a significant other, a close friend, family member, or even a boss and bosses. Um, what else do I want to talk about here? There could be a little bit of heat or conflict, it depends. Once Mars joins with Venus in Pisces on the 22nd, all the way until April 30th, because Mars in entering this energy, you can argue more, you can miss an opportunity to channel what's going on in the relationship to a problem-solving, productive conversation. So you just want to be a little mindful of that. Now, for those of you who are single, you want to get out there and just meet people. Seriously, with Mars in that energy, you could be bold, you could be very attractive, you could be a lot of fun, you could come off as being very kind of like daring. Just kind of talk to whoever because you're going to come off as very confident, which is super nice. And there could definitely the energy is very available to make some sort of soul connection, which is quite nice. But just keep in mind that Neptune is in that house as well. So you don't want to run off to Vegas and get married, right? If you're feeling that immediate connection. But definitely a nice time towards the end of the month to get out there, socialize, connect, and meet somebody new for some sort of spring romance, my friends. Okay. Um, especially through work. I'm going to say through work and even like your daily responsibilities. You can easily meet somebody at the gym, at the cleaner, at the supermarket. So just make sure you look cute when you go out. I'm getting a very like in-person vibe, if that makes sense. I'm not getting an online kind of thing. Not right now, not towards the end of this month. So meeting a lot of people in person, which isn't that cool, right? All right, my friends, that is what I have for you. I hope this was helpful in some way. I'm probably going to be doing a separate video for a little more in-depth and detailed having to do with the eclipse, because of the other conversations that are going to be going on with the eclipse that I didn't get in too deeply in this video, but I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.